8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the John DiVito Show, special Saturday night edition. Interview coming up with Mr. Impact, so sit back and enjoy. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the John DiVito Show. It is Saturday night, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and boy, we've got a good show for you tonight. We are going to be interviewing the one and only Mr. Impact in a few minutes. Eric, if you get a chance, call into the show. I'd like to have you up on the panel as well. And this should be a fun night, so I'm really looking forward to this interview. As you know, we've been doing our series of interviews coming up, and Eric will give you the rundown of the different interviews we have coming up over the next week or so. Recently, I think it was even today, I just show and also Robert from the Mr. Clean Show. I'm going to have both of them on in the next couple of weeks. So we've got just a bunch of interviews, and it's been going really good. And I guess, you know, Mr. Impact and Eric, before we get into the interviews, I'm kind of a big boxing fan. I'm going to be watching the Tyson fight tonight. Is anybody else going to drop the $49 and watch that fight tonight?
I'm not. I don't
Me
think
neither.
It's going to last very long myself, but
you know, one of the reasons why I don't know if you've been on my show when I've talked about my oldest son Matt and his boxing. My son Matt is 18. He has autism. He's been boxing for about 9 years. One of the guys that's on the undercard, Jermaine Ortiz, actually boxes out of my son's gym. So I've seen the guy box. He's very good. I mean, when we go to matches, you know, there are a bunch of guys that, you know, are on the card. We may go see 10 fights, and this guy just looks like a polished professional. So I kind of can't wait to get to see him in the fight. And actually, the guy that trains my son Matt is going to be in his corner tonight. So we're kind of excited for Kendrick Paul out of Worcester and Jermaine Ortiz. So we're going to watch more for that. And I think you're right. I think Tyson's going to probably make quick work of Jones in this fight.
So is the Ortiz guy, is he from a family of fighters or?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure because I've seen him fight now a few times, and they have a lot of good professional boxers that actually come out of this gym in Worcester, Massachusetts. If you're a boxing fan, you may know Edwin Rodriguez. He actually fought against Andre Ward for the title a couple of years ago. He's out of my son's gym as well. So it's really a gym of, you know, really solid boxers that come out of there. But as far as Ortiz's family, I'm not sure if he comes from a boxing family or not. But this kid is super fast, you know, absolutely ripped. Just a great athlete and a really good fighter. So I'm kind of, you know, excited to see him get in and fight. So can you guys believe, man, it's November 28th already. We're almost into December. Just kind of crazy how fast December passed, you know?
It's crazy. It's just like, and it just start off this. I hope all you guys had a great Thanksgiving and got together with whoever you needed to get together with. I know some of us are in different states and different mandates and all that stuff. So I hope you guys had safe and happy holidays. So
yeah, you know, we did in my family. We're in Massachusetts, and we've got, you know, the kind of strict mandates and things like that in this state. And but you know, it was still good. We had more immediate family, and we didn't have really grandfathers come, and that's kind of tough because, you know, my dad's 80, my father-in-law is in his mid 70s. Neither one of them are very healthy, and you hate not to see them, you know, for Thanksgiving because you don't know if this could be, you know, the last one. But now, what did you do for Thanksgiving?
So my mom's she's a COPD patient, so we try to not to go around her as much. I work for a big retail, so we're around a lot of people all the time, and you know, they keep us up to date with COVID cases, and we do get, you know, a couple every other week or so. So it's, you know, and I don't know if I've been in contact with some of these people. They say they tell you, but we, you know, I've only heard of a few people that actually got notified that they were in contact with somebody that actually tested positive. So I don't know a lot of times. So I don't go around my mom just for that fact. And then my mother-in-law on my wife's side, my wife's mother, she's been a cancer survivor. So we try to stay, back from that too. So we did 2 different Thanksgivings. We went to her mom's first, and then we went to see my mom, and it was just more like you said, immediate, brothers and sisters and grandchildren. It wasn't no, cousins and uncles and aunts and all that stuff like it usually is. So, but it was good. I mean, it was still, you got to see the main people, like you say, to tell a story I told on Slightly Serious the other night, a couple of years, let's see, it was 2011, sorry, 2011, or 10, actually, 2010, we actually decided, me and my wife was going to go to Florida for the holidays. My dad's side all lives in Florida. So we decided we were going to go there because we had never eaten, I had never had Thanksgiving with that side of the family. So we decided to do that in 2010, and which I'm glad I did, because in February of 2011, my grandfather passed away. So if I didn't have that, in 2010, I would have never had it at all. So, I'm grateful to at least have that. And that's kind of where you were talking about, is you don't know if those people are going to be around for the next one. So hopefully they are. But
that's what makes it hard. I mean, with my father, he's 80 years old, just turned 80 in October, and he's got dementia. So his dementia, unfortunately, is progressing. And when when you meet with him now, he repeats himself over and over again. And he's got a tough time with memory. And then my father-in-law also had triple bypass heart surgery. And this was the most amazing thing. I've told this story before. He literally had a heart attack and ended up living with us for a couple of months. He was dead for 20 minutes, and they brought him back without any type of brain damage, anything to that effect. 20 minutes he was gone, and they were able to bring him back, which is, to me, just astonishing that they're able to do that now.
That's wild.
And he had the surgery. He's living in Florida now, so he decided not to come home. He's in his place down there where he's happy and he's comfortable. But we haven't seen him now in almost a year, and it's kind of hard because I've got 4 kids and they love their grandfather and they like to see him, and it's kind of tough for them to go that period of time. But again, we don't want to be the person that gives him COVID, because that happened in our house. My oldest son, who's 18, was diagnosed positive with COVID a couple of weeks ago. He had gotten it from his teacher, but none of the other 5 members of our family tested positive. We all tested negative. So it's kind of strange that we can live with this guy. We're in kind of close quarters with everybody being quarantined, and none of us, tested positive for COVID. So it's crazy stuff, And
I know we all have our opinions. We all have our opinions on this situation, but the thing is the media does play a part. Because I look at it this way, is the media, told all this stuff in the beginning, how, and it come out to where, we figured out hospitals were getting paid extra for, saying COVID deaths and, all that. And now we're at the point to where the media is flip-flopped so much. And I know me personally, it's just like, I don't know what to believe anymore. So it's almost, you have to just take what as far as a healthcare professional, because I was in healthcare for 20 years before I broke out into other things. But you just have to take and use the knowledge that you have at that point, or you lean on somebody that does have more knowledge in the area, and say, hey, is this a good idea or not a good idea? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, because I got to where I haven't had cable in like 4 or 5 years, so I don't really keep up with news that much anyway. I probably should, but I don't. But yeah, it's just like media plays a part, whether we want to believe that or not. And
I agree.
That's just my.
They totally do. I mean, the media completely plays a part in it. And for me still, we have literally shut down our economy. We've done all these different things for a disease that has a 99% recovery rate. So, I'm not going to get into the battle because I know people feel very strong.
Right. Yeah, we've beat it to death. So,
I think there's going to be a breaking point, I think, in society. I think we may be starting to see that a little bit now, where people start kind of rebelling and fighting back and saying, listen, we've been at this for over a year. Businesses are shutting down. My family can't afford to eat because my business has not been running. And you're going to see people, I think, start rebelling against this thing, because hopefully we're going to have a safe vaccine that comes out soon. Who knows what these vaccines are going to be like? And do you even want to take it? Like my son, who tested positive in our house, I mean, he is 18, didn't even have a sniffle. He was asymptomatic. You wouldn't even known if he hadn't been tested that he had COVID. So he was, I guess one of those dangerous people that could pass it on to somebody when you don't even know that he had it. So, who knows? But hey, listen, I got a bunch of questions for you, and we'll probably just kind of let the conversation flow a little bit. And I guess first thing I'd like to ask you, just kind of a general question. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I'd like to know more about you, just in general.
So I guess the biggest part that everybody knows about me is I was in professional wrestling for 18 years. I kind of grew up around the sport. My uncle actually did a lot of independent wrestling growing up. And like I said, it was like a family thing where we were in front of the TV every Saturday night at 6:05 on the Superstation watching, NWA at the time. And so it was always been a part of my life, and it was so crazy, like how I fell into it. It was kind of accidental in a way, I guess. But I was actually told this story on Old Man's podcast as well, but I'll still do it here. I was out with some friends. We were bowling. Had a guy approach me, asking me if I ever played football. And I was like, well, yeah, I played high school and middle school football.
So are you a big guy? Are you a big guy?
Yeah, I'm about right now about 6 foot 238. So,
okay, big guy.
I'm not a small guy, but I'm not a huge guy either. I'm kind of one of those in between kind of guys. But yeah. So at the time, I was probably like 199, 200. Looking like younger, you can keep in shape a lot better. I was probably like 8% body fat, so I was a pretty sturdy, strong guy then. But the guy approached me and he's like, "Hey, you ever thought about playing minor league football?" Which I never knew was even a thing until that point. I was like, minor league football, what's that, Right. But he handed me a card and he said, "Hey, I'm doing tryouts in August or 4 weeks." I take it back. I think this was June. He said he's doing tryouts at the end of July, so like 4 weeks away. And you know what? That is wrong. I apologize. This was because I started wrestling in May, so it was like April. And he said, "Hey, we're doing this tryout in May," and he said, gave me a card, said, "Hey, call me, and we'll set you up for the tryout or whatever." And I said, "Cool." So I think it was a team down in Florida called the West Palm Beach Raiders. Okay. I can't remember the coach's name, honestly, but it was kind of a cool thing, even to experience that. But anyway, so we were in a mall or something a couple weeks later, and I seen a guy that my mom had went to high school with and knew, and he was telling me about how him and some friends had started up a wrestling promotion here in town, and asked me if I ever thought about wrestling. And I was like, well, I've always loved wrestling, and
now, just so you know, you know me real well. I'm a big wrestling fan. I've always enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
Now, how old are you? I don't know if we're in the same age category or.
I'm actually 45. So
okay, so we're relatively close. I'm older than you. I'm 52. So I watched wrestling from the time I was a kid. And one of the things that I recently got to do, now my two youngest sons, and I guess my oldest son was a wrestler for a while as far as wrestling in school. And we went to one of the wrestling tournaments. Now, do you remember Bob Backlund by any chance from the WWF?
Oh yeah. I remember Bob.
Got to meet him. He was there signing books in the lobby, this small little place, and I recognized him right away. I looked over, I'm like, holy shit, that's Bob Backlund. So I'm over there like, oh, Bob Backlund, I used to watch you, man. You were the champion when I was a kid. It was so cool to meet him. He was such a cool guy to actually meet. So that was cool that you were a wrestler. So you did it for a number of years. Now, did you wrestle on any big stages or any big arenas?
So the thing with my timing in wrestling was kind of good for me because I was already married and had a family. So getting into it with that, a lot you don't break out and do a lot of things far away because you have a commitment at home as well. So luckily, we TNA, which is now called Impact Wrestling, was actually based in Nashville at the fairgrounds, and I was part of an NWA faction, NWA main event, and at the time TNA was owned by NWA, so we were all in the same kind of. I guess it's like the same kind of family, but different kind of factions of the family. So we had opportunities to do things with the bigger promotion. At the time, they were only doing pay-per-views only. They didn't have TV syndication or anything at the time. So I did do a couple two pay-per-views, I think, with them. I was a security guard in one, and I don't remember exactly. I think I was a security guard in both.
Right.
Both of those. And the second one is when I really got to do a lot of different things. And it was pretty cool just to see how the production went together. And like, because you seen, like, being there all day, you kind of see it all just come together. And then seeing the finished product, it's just like, oh, wow, it's like, it's just pretty cool.
There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's fun to see. It's fun to experience. I've been to many different, WWF, WWE events over the years. I remember going in college. I brought my boys a few years ago, and really no one puts on a better show than wrestlers. I mean, you go in there, but, people always say too that, again, well, wrestling is fake. It isn't real. But you look at some of the injuries and some of the acrobatics and some of the things that wrestlers do. I mean, it's, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous sports you can actually play with all the different things you get going on in that ring at the same time,
So this is the way I always tell people. I was like, yes, okay, we're at a point we are, kind of fixed. I mean, we know going in, like, what's better for the business. They got to do things to make people tune in the following week. So if I'm like on top of my game or whatever, me getting my ass whooped week in and week out is going to keep people watching because they're waiting on me to beat that guy. You know what I mean? So they're going to keep watching until I do. And then you just get, after that, you just got a couple of more people coming in doing the same thing. So you just keep people watching. And then that's the thing I try to tell everybody. And another thing is, like, people don't understand is things can go wrong in the ring and you have to improvise. I mean, improvisation is like, oh man, it's got one of the biggest things you can do in wrestling because, you can't, if something goes wrong, you have to be able to flip flop it to where you're taking care of each other and not risking injury to each other. So when you had, somebody gets hurt or whatever, you can't do these big moves like you had planned. So you have to improvise and do different things, but still make it worth, still make it to where that person wants to tune in the following week.
Right. Well, I mean, that was one of the things. I remember some of the matches I used to watch when I was a kid. I still remember some of the matches, like there was a tag team duo, Rick Martel and Tony Gurria. I mean, they were the most exciting tag team duo to watch. I used to love it. But I was one of those guys. I would tune in every week to watch wrestling. And actually, for a while, I like you, I played football through high school. I played football in college, and there was a period of time where I thought about, would I like to be maybe a wrestler? And I remember I met a bunch of the old WWF wrestlers at a hotel one night, and they were saying one of the ways to get noticed is to start hanging around some of the WWF or wrestling events, and sometimes someone might notice you. And I never knew about how to go about getting involved in that. So it sounds like that you really had a pretty good career doing that. Now, you've done, in addition to playing football, in addition to being a wrestler, you also, now if I got this right, you're a stuntman and you've been an actor as well. Am I accurate with both of those?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, I've been approached with some stunt work, but it never actually played out because I couldn't get off of work to do it. But I did get approached a couple different times, and I'd love to do the stunt work. Don't get me wrong. It's just it just didn't fall into place like it should have. It was more of a last minute thing. It's like, hey, I need somebody down here. My stunt guy fell out or whatever. And I'm like, I can. I wish I could, but yeah. So I fell out. I stopped wrestling like 3 years ago, I guess. I had an incident where. It was just a simple thing where I used to run the ropes. I used to test the ropes and stuff out because I always wanted to make sure those things were, if I wanted to do what I could do off of them, you know what I mean? So if some of them are loose, some of them are tight. It just depends on who you're working for and how they keep their ring set up.
Right.
And so I was hitting the ropes in this one show, and I hit them, and the top rope broke. And I did a perfect backflip and landed on the floor. And luckily, I landed on my feet, and I still had the rope on my back. it was kind of funny now I think about it, but at the time, it was scary as shit because I'm doing a 250-pound guy doing a backflip is kind of like, oh wow. It's like I stayed sore for like 2 weeks after that, just off that little bit of a thing. And I'm just like, man, my body's about had it with this stuff. I got to find another outlet,
That's a thing. I mean, like I think about all the sports I played, I mean, I played football for so long. I played for 11 years, played at a Division I college as a defensive tackle. And I couldn't even imagine trying to go out in the football field now. I mean, I'd have body parts like falling off my body at this point. I'm just not anymore. It's just kind of crazy. But let me know, where did you grow up? I hear the Midwestern accent a little bit. Now, where did you grow up and where do you live now?
Well, actually, I grew up in Tennessee. I currently still live there. Like I said, my mom was from this area. My dad was from Florida. So not Midwestern, but
Yeah.
I'll take it as a compliment, I guess.
Where about in Tennessee? Where about you? Memphis area, Nashville?
I'm in the Nashville area. Yeah.
Okay. No, that was one of the schools. I guess one of my regrets is I ended up going to school in the Northeast, and I did get a recruiting trip to Memphis University, and I went down, and I remember
Nice.
did my recruiting trip there, and for me it was just far away from home, and I had things going on. But I remember I think they played at that time their home games were at the Liberty Bowl. I'm not sure if they still play them there or not. But I remember getting called out to the 50-yard line.
Yes.
Now playing defensive tackle for Memphis Tigers, John DiVito. And you just sit there and you're like, 18 years old. You're like, holy shit, this is amazing. But I really enjoyed it.
Right.
I think out of all my recruiting trips, I had the best time in Memphis. They were a great group of guys. And I kind of wish I'd gone there. I think the only thing I had that I was nervous about is they wanted me to switch my position from defensive tackle to offensive center, a position I'd never played before. And
right.
I was a little nervous about making that change in a Division I college, I guess, but whatever.
Right.
So, all right. So you grew up in Tennessee. Now, I guess for you, what was life like when you were a kid? I mean, did you play a lot of sports growing up? Did you do other things? Were you popular? What was your childhood like?
So I mean, like, I guess my childhood was it was pretty. I don't know. I mean, it was pretty rocky. I ain't gonna lie. So, my dad left my mom when I was 4. Didn't see him again until I was 15. So I didn't really have that that father figure around to show your son certain things. So I had to learn from other friends in the neighborhood, which they weren't seasoned in those those things. So you were told a lot of wrong stuff. I mean, so at the point I was 16 years old, I had done enough stuff to where I got put in a kind of a reform school type place. Not really like a juvenile jail or nothing, but it was pretty much the only way to describe it was like a college campus with military rules. So it was. And I think that really made me. I think that really made me grow up. Though, it's like you had those military rules where you had to, be a certain place at a certain time, or you was in trouble, or certain things like that. So I think that kind of, that experience helped me grow. So there's no regrets about it at all. So,
how long did you spend at that school or that place?
I was there a year. I probably would have stayed longer, but my best friend. While I was there, was in a real bad car wreck and died, and I kind of got set into a little bit of depression at that point. Just wanted out because the more I sit there, the more I was in my own head and just thinking about what ifs and all that kind of thing. I said, man, I got to get out of here. I got to just live my life, do my own thing, work, do whatever I got to do to keep my mind occupied. And that's what that's what I did. I mean, I don't have any regrets about that either. I mean, I kind of wish sometimes I would have just stayed there because I could have got graduated early and done a lot more things. But it is what it is, and it's just and I tell people, things are going to happen in life. It's how you rebound from it that makes you who you are. So.
No, I mean, I think that's right on the mark. That's great advice to give anybody because I think we've all been there. We've all been through difficult things. Like I've talked about it a lot on this show. That I didn't have an easy childhood either. I mean, my father stayed around, and a lot of times I wish he hadn't stayed around because he was
right
to live with him. He was not a good guy. Very abusive, not just physically but also emotionally as well. And that took a long time for me to recover from that with my confidence. Because I mean, when someone tells you you're shit every day of your life, eventually you believe that you're shit.
You start believing it. Yeah.
So now, when did you stop playing football? Did you stop playing in high school, or were you younger when you started playing?
I did. I stopped playing in high school. Actually, I was playing when I left that school. And then once I got into, I went to school here in Columbia when I left there in Nashville. And like here, when I got here to Columbia, I tried out or whatever. And I was like, it was so crazy because I was probably, 2-3 times as good as the guys that they picked to be on the starting team. Right. But because I wasn't there from freshman to, a junior at the time, then they didn't, it's like, nah, you just sit the bench or whatever. And at that point, I just got pissed off and was just like, you know what, I ain't got to deal with this stuff. And of course, later on, you realize it was more political then than it was
I'll
anything
tell you
else because, Dr. Church down the street, had his kid on there, so he was paying for his kid to play, so he was going to play. I mean,
I get 4 kids that are 18 down to 11, and we've experienced that every single season, where you have certain parents get involved all the way up in their kids' sports careers, and they pave the way for their kids all the way. And I guess we make jokes sometimes about, there's a few people in town that we talk about, and we kind of make jokes like, well, are they going to be their college professor? Are they going to be their college football coach? Are they going to be their first
right.
when they get out of school and start working? I mean, eventually you got to let your kid kind of earn something. But kids sports, they're so damn political, and it's so true, because I've seen my kid suffer from that also, and it's just unfortunate that those type of things happen.
And I got my son into football when he was about 7 or 8, so I was actually a coach in the kids league here for about 4 or 5 years, and I remember having a kid on he was playing safety out for us, and he would stand out there and with hands behind his back, kicking his feet. I'm just like, dude, you got to be alert and aware of what's going on. And he said, Coach, I don't really want to be here. And I'm just like, and I called a time, it was a practice, so it wasn't a big deal. And I said, hey, I need a minute. So the other head coach gave me a minute with the kid, and I was like, why are you here if you don't want to be here? He said, well, my mom drops me off here so she can spend time with her boyfriend. And I thought, man, nothing like lit me a fire under my ass so much as that. And I'm just like, oh my God, are you serious right now? And I told the other coaches, you better not ever let me meet his mom. I'm just going to tell you, because it's not going to be pretty.
Again, because to play football or to do anything in life and be successful at it, you have to love what you do. And if you don't like football, you shouldn't be there, because you're going to get hurt. It's a rough sport.
Exactly.
And you have to like it. So now you mentioned your kids and your wife. So how long have you been married for, and how many kids do you have? If you want to share that. If you don't, I totally
yeah. No, I've been married 20 years. My oldest is 21, and my youngest is about to be 20 this month. So
wow. So what are your kids doing now? Are they working in school? What are they up to?
Yeah, so it's funny. It's like we actually all work in the same place. We all work for. I'll say it out here. We all work for Amazon. So
we do. Oh, great company.
Yes.
You probably see a lot of boxes from my house going through that. That's all we do. I'm in quarantine and shop on Amazon. I'm going to be in the poorhouse.
Amazon. Yeah. And like I said, that with everything going on, it's been a blessing, to work there, because we actually been able to keep going,
right.
and able to keep other people, if they want to be at home and stay safe, if that's their choice, then hey, I'm glad we're there to help you do that, And like I say it that way because I don't want anybody to feel like that I'm going to down you for either way. You know what I mean? I feel like you're your own person, and you should be responsible to do whatever you want to do.
Now, I heard some story. I actually saw, a story this morning about Amazon where they just gave bonuses to either all or a lot of their employees for kind of working so hard through COVID. So it's nice to hear that there are companies out there that are showing their employees some respect and treating them well, because a lot of companies haven't done well in the pandemic, and obviously Amazon's killing it. So I love it. I was saying to my wife yesterday, I honestly think everyone always says, the best invention since sliced bread. The hell with sliced bread. It's the best invention since Amazon, because I can sit on my ass. I can buy Christmas gifts. I can, if I'm missing something in the house, I can order it. So I'm that guy where, if I need like 2 cans of like shaving cream, I order it on Amazon as opposed to get my lazy ass up and go to the store, so I But
there's a meme going around that we shared like at work for a long time, where they had Bezos back in like '94, and he's like a little goofy nerd, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jeff Bezos, and I sell books." And then you see him like 20 years later, and he's all buff and bald headed, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jeff Bezos, and I sell whatever the f I want."
It's funny you mention that. I forgot that's how they started. They started as just like a book company. You had like
I mean, that's how
they got that. That's right, because they were all books. Wow.
Yeah, so, now as a public traded company, I mean, I think a lot of people like down him because he actually built something from the ground up on his own, and I think like a lot of people that get handed money probably don't like that about some guy like him to just come in and become a self-made billionaire, and they're like, oh, screw that guy,
I look at someone like him. I look at someone like Bill Gates. I look at any of the people in this country that are very successful. I wish I could do it. I mean, they are obviously brilliant people. Maybe some of them have had benefits that I don't have, but I mean, you got to give credit to someone that can build a business like that. Like I always tell the story. This is kind of funny. Now, back when I first got out of college, I was selling class rings, diplomas, caps and gowns for a company called Herf Jones based out of Indianapolis, and I was covering the Northeast. So I had an account that was Phillips Andover Academy in Andover, Massachusetts. And obviously, it was a very well-known private school. All the rich people from all over the country come here. It's like the Harvard of, high schools. So I remember every year I would go to the school, and my goal was to sell class rings to these wealthy kids. So I would get the student directory handed to me every single year. And the student directory was a directory that had a picture of each student. It had their name, address, phone numbers, parents' names, everything. And the publication was called The Facebook.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Zuckerberg went to Andover Academy. When he got his copy of the Facebook, he decided he was going to change the world. When I got my copy of the Facebook, I decided I'd sell a couple extra class rings. So that shows the difference between the regular guy, So that's, I think of that story a lot. I remember getting the Facebook, and obviously he found a way to, make himself a multi-billionaire with that technology. So kind of crazy stuff.
So you could get all that information then, but we can't get the information like that for voters?
Nothing.
I had to put that out. I'm sorry.
No, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, it's funny. I was watching an interview with Obama today from a few years ago, and he was talking about how, with these votes, you have to be comparing the signatures and making sure they're certified. Now, when the election's gone the other way and, Biden's won, we don't need to check anything. We don't need to have anything certified.
Right.
Predated votes, those are okay too, whatever. I mean, it's just all the rules go out the window, with this new administration coming in. And I don't know, I'm just kind of tired of it. I mean, to me, it's crystal clear that in the 2020 election, the left cheated. They cheated to beat Trump, and it is what it is. But a lot of people don't see it that way. That's just the way I see it.
Right.
So, But now let me ask you, you've been podcasting for a while. What made you decide to start podcasting? When did you start? And,
So when I got out of wrestling about 3 years ago, I talked to a buddy of mine that was also a pro wrestler out in Texas. We had a match here in Nashville years before that, and I knew he had done some acting. So I asked him, I said, "Hey man, what can you give me some tips to get into that?" And he gave me a few tips, and I went out and I found a school or whatever. Then I sent all the info back to him, and I said, "Hey, does this sound legit?" And he sent me back and said, "Yeah, man, it sounds good. I'd go for it." So I went for it. I graduated from there, got my little certificate, and all that good stuff, and did a couple of background spots here and there, and actually got I went and did a job for a guy in Kentucky for free. I said, "Man, I'm not doing nothing this weekend. I'll come up and help you out." And he's like, he goes, "Man, I hate for you to come that far, and not get paid." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm serious." I'm like, "I'm not doing anything." And like, to me, I don't like sitting around and not doing anything for so long, because then it gets stale. I feel like I get stale, and like I lose a lot of I don't want to say like confidence or anything, but I just lose a lot of I guess I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? If I sit around too long, I'll get to work. Yeah. I'll get kind of like, whatever. I'll just pass that one up, or like I used to. I fill out for everything. I didn't care where it was at, But I wound up doing that for free. And then he's like, "Hey, I'm doing this big thing for Amazon in like 2 months. So would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, man, hit me up or whatever." So he did, and I went up. We did that little spot, and actually that's where I met yours truly. Was on the set of that. She was actually the person in charge of everything there with making sure that everybody was where they needed to be and all that good stuff. I guess they call it PA. I think is what she was actually would be considered.
Okay, production assistant. Yep.
Yeah. So she was there. Made sure everybody was in place. So we got to talk. They got to talk about wrestling, and then me and another guy was talking about it, and then she overheard it, and she goes, "Oh, you used to be a wrestler." She's like, "Oh, you think you're tough?" And blah, blah. She started talking a bunch of trash, and I was just like, "Is this chick for real?" Like, what the hell? but we kind of like hit it off, and it was just like a cool thing. And she moved away from Kentucky a few years back to be with her mom and dad, and she hit me up and said, "Hey, I'm trying this thing out on Facebook." Where I'm doing Q&As. And I said, "Okay, cool." And she's like, wanted to know if I'd be a part of it. And I said, "Sure." And then the turnout was really, really great. And then she contacted me like 2 weeks after that and said, "Hey, that went so well. Would you like to do a podcast?" I'm just like, I've never done a podcast, but,
right.
I'm down, whatever, you know. So we kind of teamed up with that, and we kind of. Well, the rest is kind of history. We're on here as Crosstalk, and I think we're going to run over to the VOP USA Radio after the first of the year. We're going to be on that as Truly Impacted. So.
Nice. So, I mean, you've developed a strong following. And I guess, I know that a lot of people have heard your show in the Podbean world here, but you publish this out to a lot of different platforms later. What is your show about? Like, tell us what your show is about in general.
I mean, we just kind of talk about, whatever we kind of follow up with each other around Tuesdays, because we do our shows on Thursday mornings. So we was following up, make sure we're all on the same page by Tuesday, and then she'll promote it on Tuesday for Thursday's show. And we've talked about politics, we've talked about movies, we've talked about a little bit of everything. And I use my background to get people on the show to interview. I've interviewed a friend of mine that's a comedian, ventriloquist, and then I also interviewed another buddy of mine that's in the movie business as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It's no certain topic. So,
do you guys have a goal for your podcast? I mean, is this something you're doing recreationally, or do you think maybe this might blow up and turn into maybe a full-time gig for you?
Man, I would love for it to blow up into a full-time gig, because I mean, I guess like for me, it's good because my wife always says that I don't ever meet a stranger. So I'll talk to somebody in Walmart line about something stupid. Yeah. So I mean, so it's a good thing for me because, like I said, I don't mind talking about things that I've done or people I've met, or and they call and say, hey. Even moving forward, I would still, try to bring people onto the show for interviews, that kind of thing to promote what they're doing. I've always been about wanting to better myself, but I always want to take people with me. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I mean, I'm not really like a selfish guy. I don't care about. I guess like my grandmama always told me. She said, "Don't ever look to be rich." She said, the thing you want to do in life is to get a bill in the mail and you could put a check in it and put it right back in the mailbox and not have to worry about it.
Right.
She said, you don't have to be rich to do that.
I agree completely. I mean, for me, the things that make me happy, like I would say that probably the one thing that maybe defined my life a little bit when I was younger was, I was a very good baseball player, and I had a dad that pushed me way too much. And he, didn't make it for a variety of reasons. He wanted me to make it. He turned baseball for me into a chore, kind of like the movie Field of Dreams. It was a very similar story. And I remember walking away from baseball. I was a left-handed hitting catcher. I was 6'4", 235 pounds when I graduated from high school, and I could hit bombs. I was a good baseball player. I went to football, and I guess I don't know if I would have been good enough to have a career in baseball, but that's been the biggest issue is I will never know. So for me, I've made the decision from this point on in my life that I will never have anything in my life where I do not know the answer to. Like for me, starting this podcast, it was because of the pandemic. I started it back in March. I was a communications and broadcasting major back in school. I wanted to be a broadcaster back in the day when I got out, but because of life circumstances, I had to get a job and find a place to live. And, radio didn't pay too well for a long period of time. So for me, doing this podcast is about checking that box. For a while, I wanted to be a movie star. So I've been in now 5 different films that have been on Lifetime and Hallmark, like Christmas movies and things like that. That's another check in the box. But you're right. For me, this and even that, it's not about money, but it's about doing those things in life that you want to do without fear, giving it a go. And if you stink at it, you stink at it. It is what it is.
Right.
And for me, I'm really happy with where this is right now. Like I like doing what I'm doing. If it turned out that I was good at it and somebody wants me to do it on a bigger stage, great. But if it never happens, I'm fine with it being right here where it is, but you're right. Money too. Money is nice to have, but it's not about, having all the shit to show off to people. What your grandmother said to you was right on the mark. If you have enough money to write that check and pay that bill, then you have peace of mind in your life. And that's what's so important, so she was a smart lady. I like to hear that.
Yeah. Another reason I'm not rich is because she told me to never buy a house too big that I couldn't clean myself. So
it was my fault. Oh my God. It's so true.
But yeah, I think it's more about enjoying what you do. You know what I mean? I don't think it's more of, there's so many people out there that do things for a living that are probably, I guarantee you like more people out there are doing things that in life for a living that they're not happy doing.
Can't do it. Yep.
And yeah, and I mean, I am I happy at Amazon? I mean, like, I would say more content. I wouldn't say happy, but it's more of a content that I can take it or leave it, I guess. It's if it ended tomorrow, I'm good with it. I got certificates and stuff on the wall. I could get a job tomorrow. It's not about that. I don't mind doing what I need to do to put bread on the table, but this thing and wrestling and acting, all that stuff was things that I enjoyed doing.
Right.
And I've always been an entertainer of some sort, so doing that just makes me happy, and it makes me happy seeing what I do making other people happy.
And you and I have a lot in common. I'm telling you, you and I share a lot of the same things on life, which is kind of cool. I love meeting people where I have things in common with them. All right, so let me ask you. So, do you have a big dream now? Like going forward, you're 45, you've been a wrestler, you've done other ththings. For the next 20 years, what's your dream? Do you have anything you're working towards, or just kind of?
I mean, I think like my next big goal is probably to be in a movie that's like I said, I don't care if I get rich doing it. I just want to be in a role to where the role can be identified. It's kind of like if you watch anything with Doc Holliday, to me, Doc Holliday is always going to be Val Kilmer. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I was just watching that. I love it. Great movie.
I love Tombstone. But like, I want to be in a role to where it's identified. You know what I'm saying? A lot of actors don't like that, but I want to be that guy's like, hell, there's like, he played someone, he played whatever, It's just like, Daniel Radcliffe will always be Harry Potter. I don't care what he does. He's always going to be Harry Potter. I mean, and I hate hearing those actors do that and be like, well, I just wanted to branch out and not be known as Harry Potter. Well, I'm sorry. I don't care where you branch out to. You're always going to be Harry Potter. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I wouldn't mind them saying that about me. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm Harry Potter.
Nothing wrong with that as far as I see either. I'm with you there. Would you say you're a happy person? Do you think you're happy? I mean, everyone has ups and downs, but in general, are you a happy, positive person? You sound like you are. Just curious.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I try to take anything, even, in life and work, whatever I always try to take a negative that happens and try to make a positive out of it. Somehow, some way. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does. I mean, but I always to me, I guess it's crazy to say that, but anything like that, that's been like thrown a wrench into it. And I like to fix it, I guess, pretty much. And it gives me a challenge, to say, oh, well, I'm going to take that and fix it,
Right. Now, if there's a young kid out there listening to us right now, or will be on one of the platforms once this goes out. Now, you and I both had similar situations growing up, tough childhoods at home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had to speak to someone now that's maybe going through a difficult time in their lives, what advice would you give them about pursuing their dreams as a young adult and fighting your way through a difficult home life?
I mean, I would say don't let the situation you're in now define who you are. I mean, you can make, you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do, but you got to work for it. I mean, nothing's ever handed to you. So I would say that you don't get stuck in saying this is my life, because you can change that.
No, you're right on the mark with that. And one of the things I've said, I had a show about pursuing your dreams, because, a lot of people have dreams, and you grow up as a young kid. Oh, I want to be famous. I want to be a movie star. I want to be a ball player, whatever it is. And you can have a dream, and dreams are amazing. Dreams are a fantastic thing. But if you want to make that dream a reality, you have to come up with a plan, and you have to work that plan. Because if you don't come up with a plan to achieve that dream, and you don't work your ass off, you're never going to get to maybe achieving that dream. And the one thing I've seen out of all the successful people that I've seen in my life, they have one common denominator, and that is they work their asses off. They work harder than anybody else. And I guess if you're doing something you really love, like I imagine when you were wrestling, did it feel like work to you? Probably not, right? I mean,
no, it didn't. I mean, no.
If you find the right thing, like for me here, doing the podcast, here it is. It's Saturday night at 6:40. My family's off doing their thing, and I'm in here doing a podcast. But I do it because I like it, and I'm not getting paid for it. It's just something I enjoy to do, and I think if you have to have a dream, you have to find something you love, but you have to be willing to work for it, because no one is going to roll out the red carpet and give it to you. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
That's the way life works, So, hey, how about biggest pet peeves in life? So what kind of drives you crazy about, anything in general?
Man, it's just like stupidity, like bothers me to a point of like insanity. It's just like, I don't understand how some people just, like you say earlier about, the political thing, is like, I don't understand how people cannot just see what's going on. You know what I mean? Whether, you like what's going on or not like what's going on, you can see there's a problem there. You know what I mean? Don't be naive and say, "Oh, it's all good and fine." No, there's something going on here, and you need to pay attention.
Agreed.
And it's just like, and I can go even back to driving. It's just like, you see these people out here driving, and I mean, I had a motorcycle today, like whipping in and out of stuff, but yet we're supposed to respect the road for you. I'm like,
right.
Jackass, you're the one driving like an idiot.
When you get hit and you're dead, it's going to be because you're weaving in and out of cars like a jackass.
Right. Yeah. And it's not going to be, because that car didn't pay attention to me. No, it's because you're being a dumbass. And actually, I used to do a segment on Facebook years ago, and it was called Dumbass Driver of the Day. And I would have like my car cam on all day long just to catch these people. And then I would like down, cut the film down and then put it on Facebook and say, here's your dumbass driver of the day. If you know this guy, go tell him he's a dumbass. It's like,
well, I mean, there are so many bad drivers. Let me go here for a second. I wasn't planning on going here, but I want to hear what you have to say. With everything that's going on right now, we've kind of danced around it a couple of times. What do you see right now? What's happening? I mean, I know what I think's happening. What do you think's happening with this whole election? Give us what you think. I'd love to hear it.
So, I mean, like too much of it just doesn't make sense. I mean, if you can take numbers, like the biggest thing I've done is research-wise is I've looked at these key states like Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and of course, from the number of voters registered in those states, from the number of votes counted, there's 2 million missing in each state, and I have a hard time believing that 2 million people just sat at home and said, you know what, I'm not voting this year. I mean, that's 6 million votes. I just can't see that many people not doing that. So I decided, I was like, well, I'm going to go look at other states and see if that's kind of a thing that's going on. No, I'll look at the state I'm in, Tennessee. We had, I don't remember how many registered voters we had, but there was only, it was less than 200,000 that did not vote between votes counted and registered voters. So to me, I could see that, you know what I mean? You got millions of voters, 100,000 saying, you know what, I can't make it. I can't do, that's understandable. But 2 million is just, no, I can't believe that.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers are adding up either, because I think there are just too many indiscrepancies. And because I like what's happening here in Georgia, for instance, or in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, and possibly even Minnesota and Virginia and other states that need to be looked at. Because
I don't know if y'all seen. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I just got done saying that. It's just like, I just don't think a lot of the stories are adding up. But the thing about me is I want to be an optimist.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, I would like to have faith that there is something there, and people be like, how can this be?
Well, that's the thing. One of the things that drives me crazy is, now you've got Biden, who is, quote unquote, the president-elect. I don't believe that he is, but that's the title he's been given at this point, even though there's still questions in the election. But he's coming out now and saying, okay, I'm going to be the guy that unifies America. Well, okay, that's nice that you say that. But for the last 4 years, you've called me racist. You've called me a deplorable. You have called me every name in the book and basically questioned the type of person I am. You have done nothing but for the last 4 years, your party, but loot cities, try to ruin our president, try to ruin the economy. You've burnt down cities. The Democratic Party has done nothing in my opinion to divide this country and try to destroy our democracy. But now that you have cheated and you've gotten your way into office, now you're saying, okay, right wing, sit down, be quiet. We're going to unify. I mean, I don't know if I set this up as explicit or not, but my opinion on that is fuck you, Joe Biden, and fuck you left. Because I look at, everything that's been going on for these last 4 years. I'm honestly surprised that they did not try to kill Trump, because they have done everything in their power to destroy him. And to me, when you see the voting dumps with Dominion at 3:00 in the morning and all these different things that happen, I think anyone that's paying attention has to look and say, if anything, there was most likely some form of cheating in this election, and it probably cost our president the election. But the left doesn't care. They just want the office. They want the power. They don't care if they cheated or not. But I mean, if it did happen and we don't check it, our democracy is dead. It's dead. Our country is dead. If our votes don't mean anything, we are not a free country. We are Venezuela. We are China. We're
Cuba, Russia.
Cuba.
It's basically become checks and balances be damned, in other words.
Yep, absolutely.
So I don't know if you guys seen any of the hearings in PA, but I watched a little bit of it today, and not far into it, you had one of the guys sitting there saying, well, the number of votes exceeded registered voters. Okay, well, how the hell does that happen? I mean, that's obviously a flag right there.
That can happen. And again, yours truly, you're at a family dinner. I hope that your phone or your whatever was not on loud while I was swearing. So if you're with your family, I apologize for being rude. But yeah, those are the little. There was so many things with. Now, I have a good friend who I cannot mention her name because she asked me not to, but she worked as a vote counter in one of the swing states in the Midwest, and point blank, she witnessed and saw voter fraud. She saw it. She reported it. She signed an affidavit, and she's a person that witnessed it clearly. So, it is what it is. It's one of those things where I think the evidence is out there, but we need to investigate it. So I don't want to get too far into politics. I just
right.
So let me ask you, going back to the interview, do you have like a favorite athlete, a favorite celebrity, a favorite movie star, anything like that you kind of look up to?
There's so many great people out there that you could just, I've done a lot of like film study in films, and I took an old, trying to think, was it Anthony? I don't remember if it was Anthony Hopkins or who it was, but I can't even remember the name of the movie at this point. But because I watched part of it and I thought, man, that's like so cool, just being like in black and white and hearing the way he was talking. God, I can't remember the name of the movie. I feel like so stupid right now. Anyway, it was a good movie. It was more of a, you may know it if I tell you like the premise behind it, but it was like he was a boxer or something, and then he somehow didn't make it as boxing. Then he was like involved in the mob or some crap, or I don't remember. But it was like a really good movie.
It's not Raging Bull. It's not the Raging Bull. That was
no. It wasn't Raging Bull. I wish I could remember. But anyway, I was like, I mean, a lot of older movies like will reach out and grab you like and pull you in with certain context and stuff that you were like, man, like it's like some of the stuff I watched like older, and then I look at stuff now and I'm just like, man, that was like relevant 50 years ago. I'm like, really? It's like it's just amazing of how like some things of course
the old stuff is really good.
What's that?
No, I was gonna say some of the older stuff is really good. I mean, it really is relevant,
Yeah. And like I just think like it's so crazy how we evolve so much, but then we can still go back to fundamentals. It's just like it's really cool to get into that. And like I think one of the like stars that I like to get a lot of work, get a lot of monologues together and stuff from. It's like Denzel, Kevin Spacey has some good ones. Of course, Clint Eastwood's one of my favorite actors. I use a lot of his stuff. And then when I got into wrestling, I had a couple of guys in mind. Like when I started developing what kind of style of wrestler I wanted to be, I used some artillery from Magnum TA and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which I thought that was kind of the guys
I remember that.
I wanted to build everything around because I was near, somewhere similar to their sizes, I guess. Of course, not as much as Magnum. He was a taller guy, but
right.
Of course, just wrestling style. That's what I wanted to do.
Now that leads me to another question. Who are your top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time?
I mean, if anybody gets asked that and they don't put Flair in there somewhere, I just automatically assume that they don't know much about wrestling. But because Flair's got to be in your top 5. Hogan to me was overrated. He was more of a money maker more than wrestler. So I would say probably my top 5 as far as wrestling would probably be Arn Anderson was up there. He was a good technical guy. The Road Warriors were 2 of my favorites as far as strength and power. And Nikita Koloff, only because I met the guy and he's like really down to earth guy. He's like really turned his life around into religion, and he's doing a lot of great things with that. With a couple of other wrestlers, actually, Mark Marrow, Shawn Michaels has been on a few of the tours. Ted DiBiase, those guys do an actual religious tour where they go and they talk to students and they'll go to different venues and do those things. And I just think that's great that they're using their publicity for good.
Yeah, 2 of my favorites. I definitely like Jimmy Superfly Snooker was one of my favorites. And then another favorite was Roddy Piper. Loved him from back in the day. Just, you remember Piper's
Piper was great.
Now, the one guy that I did meet that was an awesome guy in person, Jesse the Body Ventura, who ended up being, Minnesota governor and, was in numerous movies, Predator, things like that. In addition, now think about this guy. This guy was a Navy SEAL. He became a WWF, one of the biggest stars in WWF. He got into movies, became very famous there. And he was also a football broadcaster for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not sure if people knew that, but I had a good friend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was cool. I had a good friend who was a sportscaster here in Boston, and he got me into one of the Patriots games, and we got to sit up in the press booth. They were playing the Vikings, and everyone's in there all dressed up nice and everything. All the big name sportscasters in Boston were there. So I look over, and there's Jesse Ventura just standing there by himself. He was chewing tobacco.
Wow.
He was chewing tobacco. He was wearing a fatigue jacket with jeans, work boots, and bigger than anybody else in the room, a big dude in person. He's spitting chewing tobacco juice into the plant next to him on the ground, this big floor plant. So no one's talking to him. I see him. I'm like, holy shit, when am I going to get to meet Jesse the Body Ventura again? So I walk over to him. I'm like, hey, Mr. Ventura, I'm a big wrestling fan. Saw you in Predator. I'm definitely one of your movie fans, things like that. He's like, oh man, what's your name? I'm like, so I shook his hand, told him I'm John. Good to meet you, John. He goes, make sure that you check out the movie Ricochet. That's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. I got a good part in that one. And I talked to him for about 10 minutes. He was cool as shit. I didn't ask him for an autograph, didn't ask for a picture. It was just cool as hell to meet him, because he was one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid growing up. But it's fun. He talked just like he did in the wrestling ring. And it was just, just an imposing guy when you see him in person. He's just a big, tough looking dude. But there's a guy that just conquered life, man. Navy SEAL, professional wrestler, movie star, governor, football broadcaster. The man did it all. Just amazing guy. So that's cool.
Actually, like one of the things that I'll remember about my little stint, my stint with wrestling was Ricky Steamboat was one of the guys that I based off of, and actually got to meet him and work with him at TNA when I did the little spot there. He was like one of the guys in the back. And I thought, man, this is like awesome, man. I'm like meeting a guy that I built all of my moves around and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Real good guy, down to earth. It was crazy. Like one of the nicest guys I ever met was Jerry Lynn. I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
No, I'm not.
But he was a big star in ECW. He done some stuff with WWE and F as well. But he was actually, they told me to go around and meet the guys or whatever. So I was going around meeting everybody. He came to me. He said, hey, I'm Jerry Lynn. How you doing? I'm like, oh, wow, this is crazy. The guy come to me. He's like, I'm just a nobody, But it was pretty cool because he was just that guy, you know what I mean? Down to earth, cool guy. And, but you don't meet a lot of those guys in the business. A lot of the guys are stuck up and,
you know who Kurt Fuller is, the actor. And if you don't know him by name, he was actually in the wrestling movie with Hulk Hogan back in the 80s, No Holds Barred. He was like one of the
Barred. Yeah.
He was in that. But if you saw The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith and his son, remember Walter Gribben, the CEO that took him to the football game?
Okay, yeah.
That's Kurt Fuller. So he was actually the first movie I did. He actually was in the movie. And, to me, I was like, kind of starstruck when I saw him. I'm like, holy shit, it's Kurt Fuller, because I'd seen him in probably 10 different movies. So I saw him and didn't really say anything to him. Then we're in line at lunch. And it was a small budget movie. So it was, everyone ate together. You didn't have a separate section for the stars. So he was standing behind me. I didn't know it. I happened to turn to look behind me, and there he is. He puts the hand right out and he goes, hey, how you doing? Kurt Fuller puts his hand out. And I remember looking at him just going, how you doing? I'm John. And I kind of didn't talk to him. And I still to this day regret not turning around just going, dude, I saw you in No Holds Barred. I was kind of like intimidated by him when I met him. I was like, holy shit. But he was a super nice guy in person, like really friendly. Most of the people I met, like in the 5 films I've done, I met what's his name? Bart Johnson. He was the father in High School Musical. Really cool guy. He was married to, or is married to, Robin Lively, Blake Lively's sister. She's super nice.
Okay.
A lot of the people I met, I only met one guy that was kind of an asshole, and everyone kind of felt the same way about him. I won't mention his name, but he was kind of a dick on set. But I think he may have been just staying in character the whole time also. So it was one of those things where he was just kind of, being himself. Impact, is he famous? He's already famous, man. When I found out I was going to get Mr. Impact on my show, I was pumped, man. I was jacked up for this interview. I couldn't wait to get him on and talk wrestling and all this other stuff, man. So, all right, I've hit a few.
So I wanted to go back just for a minute. I actually remember the movie that I was talking about earlier was On the Waterfront, and it was Marlon Brando.
Oh, Marlon Brando, great movie.
Yeah. So the whole could have been a contender. I did that whole monologue. It was my first monologue I ever did. So.
It's funny. I saw that movie in school. They showed us that movie in high school. I saw On the Waterfront, and that was such a good movie. I mean, it really was. If you haven't seen On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando, it's a black and white film. Great film from. I mean, what year was that? Probably the 30s, maybe.
50. It was 54, I think. Yeah, I think it was in the 50s. Yeah, 1954. Yeah.
Now, Laura, you must know Mr. Impact. Yeah, Mr. Impact was a professional wrestler. He's done some acting and a lot of other things in his life. Oh, we got yours truly calling in, so we're going to get her on the line, and she may have some dirt on us or dirt on Mr. Impact. So yours truly, welcome to the show.
I have a lot. I used to be his boss on sets. I got a lot.
Hold up, before you start getting and trying to blackmail me, I'm broke. It's Christmas time. I don't.
I want 50 cents on my PayPal before the end of this is over, or all the stories are getting leaked.
Oh man, you're in deep shit. I knew it.
How's everyone doing? Hi, everybody. Sorry, I had to crash the party. I mean, my partner's in here, and I was like, Mr. Impact had an interview today, and we're at Thanksgiving dinner. So I was like, I have to stop in and say hi.
I'm glad you joined us.
Good idea.
Yeah. So go ahead. Say what you were going to say, Mr. Impact. Then we're going to go to yours truly for all the dirt.
I'm just saying some stuff. Laura was down here saying, "Can I have your autograph?" You sure can, anytime. And actually, if you've listened to our show, we actually do giveaways on our show, and I give away some old merchandise that I still got packed away, T-shirts and stuff like that I autograph and send out to the fans that win the drawings. We also have we had a drawing a while back, and then we were in the middle of changing over to the Truly Impacted. So we're trying to wait till we get that going, and then we're going to do logo shirts for that and then give those out. So whoever, I can't remember, she's got all track of all the winners, but whoever won those are going to be the first people to have the Truly Impacted T-shirts. So
right.
Yeah.
So you guys are professional. You have merch and everything. I get nothing. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's that wrestling mentality, man. You got to have merch. You know what I mean?
Someday I'll get around to that. Hey, and while I have her in the room, we got, is it Laura? Laura, she's going to be interviewed. Is it Thursday? I think we agreed on.
Thursday.
Thursday at noon. We're going to have Laura on as an interview. And also we booked Robert from the Mr. Clean show. We're going to have him on. I know you have all my dates, Eric. December 10th, I think we're having him
December
on.
10th.
Yep. Oh, you're good. You know my schedule better than I do. So,
noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
Eric's like the podcast, the podcast Rolodex, man. He knows everything.
He is.
He knows
I love it.
But every show, he runs off all the different shows, all the different names, and I'm just, it's funny because my oldest son is very much like that, and he's funny.
So to put everybody into perspective, Eric is our light guy and our sound guy and those kind of things, because people don't realize that in music and movies and wrestling, like all that can't happen without a production crew. A guy that sets up the ring in wrestling, a guy that sets up the stage in music, the light guy, the sound guy. All those guys play a factor in it. And like I always feel bad that we take all the credit for being the performers when those guys are actually doing most of the work.
They do a ton of work. I mean, the films I've been in, all the different people that are putting this thing together, the amount of work that they do to even put together one small scene. I mean, the first movie,
right.
it was a football scene. I was a football coach, and they literally, it took us a full week on set to film this. And it was maybe in the movie for like 4 minutes. I mean, we spent so much time there, and they had to do so much work to get all this stuff done and everything organized. It was just amazing. So you're right, man. The people behind the scenes do all the work, and they do a lot. So yours truly, what do you have on this? What do you have on Mr. Impact that you can share with us?
Well, let's see. Do you want from the podcasting point of view or from the acting? I can do both.
Oh, I want to hear both. I want to hear both.
I can drop dirt on everything. I used to be his boss in real life, so
dirt. Let's go.
That's how Impact and I met. So no, honestly though, Mr. Impact is an awesome guy. I loved working with him on film sets. He came to us actually the first time I met him. We were doing a zombie movie, and we were out there in the hottest day of the year. We were out there on the hottest day of the year. It was like 115.
Wow.
And because of the humidity and everything, and we were dying. We got lost. We wound up in Indiana from Kentucky, and we don't even know how that happened. And we get out there, everybody's makeup is wearing off and everything, and everybody had such a positive attitude. Impact came in there, and he told me he's a professional wrestler, and the first thing out of my mouth is, I'm going to power slam you. First thing out of my mouth to him. Big wrestling dude up against me. I just want to power slam you. That's all I want to do. We're tag team partners now. Give me the steel chair. I will smash you right here. Suplex right here. And and we had fun doing that kind of stuff on set. He was very laid back. And then I had the honor of working with Mr. Impact on another film that unfortunately has not been released.
It happens a lot.
I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, we don't know what's going on with that quite yet. But he was in there, and he was an amazing actor. Came in with just the biggest smile on his face, and always bringing this positive energy.
I know what's going on with it. They're waiting until the limit expires, and they only have to pay me a penny per view instead of 5 cents per view.
Oh, that's probably what it is. That's probably why the movie that I was in has not.
I'll tell you the one I was in. We did a movie about a school shooting filmed at a college in Massachusetts, and that was the one that Bart Johnson, the coach from High School Musical, and Robin Lively, Blake Lively's sister, was in that movie, and it was a good movie. We actually had a kid. I don't know if you. I think it was The Secret Life of the American Teenager. Grant Harvey was in that. He was the school shooter, and he played a nasty part in that film. I was one of the cops that went in and rescued Bart Johnson from being held up in the library and all that stuff. It was pretty fun. But what happened was we were literally, I think, 3 days from wrapping on that film, and a huge school shooting happened in the U.S. at that point. And at that point, no network wanted to dead. Yeah. So. It was kind of unfortunate that kind of happened, but it was kind of cool. I remember one day I was eating lunch with Bart Johnson, Robin Lively, two pretty big stars. So I said to them, it was a Friday. I'm like, so what are you guys doing for the weekend? You guys are from LA. Do you hang around Boston? You don't fly back all the way to LA and come back here, do you? And he's like, no, we're going to actually go into the city. We're going to be meeting Robin's sister and her boyfriend for dinner. So it took me about 5 or 10 seconds to think about that, and I realized that was Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So if I had the balls, I would have said, hey, could my wife and I tag along? We'd love to go out with the four of you. But I couldn't do it. So that would have been cool as hell. That's my wife has given me the pass. If I ever meet Blake Lively and she says, yes, I get the okay for Blake Lively, and that's pretty much the only one I can cheat with, I guess. She has Ryan Reynolds. So, oh, man. So, yeah. So,
mine is Kate Beckinsale. So,
oh yes, I can see the wisdom behind that one. She's beautiful, no doubt. So now, how many movies have you done? Yours truly. It sounds like you did, quite a few movies. Now, what was your career like, and are you still doing movies now, or?
I do not do movies now. I do podcasting and radio work and voice work. That's what I do now, but my movie career was not very big. I've only done voice acting for one movie. I did an opening for a movie, and I was a production manager and a production assistant. That's how I started out in the movie business, was a production assistant, moved to a production manager. And that's how I met Impact. And that's how I met a lot of really awesome actors and people in the movie business. And it was just really, really awesome to be able to experience that with everybody. So, but I have about 8 IMBD credits out there, with just in a couple year period. So it was a lot of fun. And like I said, now I'm just doing podcasting, and I co-own a design company, and we do logos and get all that fun stuff.
You got a lot of stuff going on. So, I mean, your podcast is very successful. So are you hoping that this thing is going to blow up into like a full-time gig where you do only this, or are you kind of happy doing a bunch of different things?
I did start out as a radio DJ many years ago. And that was something I always wanted to do. And I never thought I'd get back into it. And then they got a hold of me on a movie set and they're like, come on, we want you to read the lines to this. And so I was like, okay. So I started doing it and I was like, you know what? This is something I want to do. But how Impact and I got into podcasting and being there and doing our own shows again is we turned around and we had a celebrity week on my Facebook where celebrities would come in and talk with fans and get to meet fans. And somebody suggested that we do a podcast. So that's what we've been doing ever since. And we've absolutely enjoyed it. And we absolutely love it.
That's awesome. I mean, it's funny. You and Impact and I all have similar stories. I was actually a broadcasting major in college, and I started to do it briefly after college. And then, life circumstances happened. I was living with my parents. That wasn't going well. I needed to find a job. I got a job in sales. That was going to be my temporary job. And then, many, many years later, I'm still doing that for a career, which I like, but I never got a chance to get back into broadcasting. And then because of the pandemic, I was able to get back into it through Podbean. And I've been loving doing this. I have having a lot of fun, and am I ever going to be a professional? Probably not, but I enjoy what I do, and I'm meeting a lot of good people, and it's just kind of scratching that itch of being a broadcaster, because that's something I always wanted to do, and I felt like I missed that opportunity. But it's nice to hear that you're doing it and doing so well, because I've heard a lot of good things about your show, and it seems like I miss your show a lot. What time do you generally broadcast? Is it like at a set time, or what time are you guys usually on?
We go 9 a.m. time on usually Thursdays or Fridays, but we're getting ready to go over to the VOP platform, and we'll be starting in January. So we're not really podcasting here on Podbean anymore, but we are definitely going to be out there here very, very soon, and it's getting really exciting. We're excited to see what life has in store for us with this. And like I said, Mr. Impact is awesome. He's been the best
I've been
partner.
talking to Slightly Serious about looking at the VOP network. I may take a look also and see what's happening there. I've been meaning to do it, haven't gotten around to it, but it seems like a lot of people are transitioning over to that platform. And have you liked what you've seen so far?
Yes, absolutely love it. Love the people, love everybody over there. It's great.
Nice.
It's great. I love it.
Nice. All right. Well, listen, Mr. Impact, we're a little bit over time. I was thinking, an hour. We've gone a little bit over. Got a couple more questions I want to ask you. This is one I've asked a few different people.
Sure.
So if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be? Tough question,
wow.
I know. The one person I didn't ask this to, she actually answered it without me asking her, because I forgot to ask her the question. So I figured I'd throw it back in tonight.
Man, that is a real tough question. I mean, especially with if it was dead or alive, probably Jimi Hendrix, just because I think he was just so ahead of his time. And I would just love to know, if he had a time machine or what he did to be that way, because I mean, to me, it's just amazing to hear, some guitar riffs and stuff from that era that could really transition into today's music. I mean, easily, So yeah, I would probably say
that's a good answer. I'm a big rock and roll guy, in addition to being a wrestling fan and movie fan and all that type of thing. I mean, Hendrix was amazing. He was, the best guitar player of all time. And I've seen some other good ones too in person. I've been able to see, Eddie Van Halen play. I saw him play a couple of years ago before he passed away. And I've seen Guns N' Roses, Plant and Page, a lot of good shows over the years. But Jimi Hendrix, I wish I could have seen him in concert, because he was truly just a pioneer, in playing the guitar. That's a good answer. I like that. Yeah, I still think the one that surprised me the most was the first interview I had Cummings' Culture on, and without a hitch, he said Jesus. And I thought about that for a second, and that probably I wouldn't.
Man, that's kind of cool. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought of that, and it was a great answer, because then he said I could just ask about anything, and I would know the answers to anything. I'm like, damn, right. That's a good answer. So I think that was
right.
So. All right, so I guess we're kind of at the end of the questions I have, and I guess if I could just give you the mic for a little bit and just say if there's anything else you want people to know about you, let it rip. What type of person you are, anything you want to talk about, just let it rip and go.
Yeah, I did want to mention that I know we're not doing me and Truly's not going to do much on here, but I have been talking to another friend of mine, and we've been talking about doing an internet radio station for a couple of years now, and just hasn't fell into place yet. So I think we're going to test our waters on here here in a couple of weeks. We're going to do actually a heavy metal hard rock show on here. Just pretty much go through the news and new releases, album reviews, that kind of thing. And yeah, I think we hadn't really like set a date on it. We just kind of like started talking about it a couple weeks ago, but I think we're wanting to like get it going here pretty soon. So, especially I think like 2021 with the quarantine, the music industry is going to be booming next year because so many people have just been in the studios writing and like recording and doing stuff like that. And I think 2021, if everything opens back up, it's going to be a huge year for music.
Have you heard the new AC/DC album by any chance? I actually purchased that right away.
I have. I actually did a review on. I have a page on Facebook called Metalheads Unite. If anybody on here wants to check that out, I'd be free. I'll feel free to request. I'll add you on. But we do a lot of stuff that we would do on the podcast there. We share like new videos and stuff like that. But yeah, I did a review on it. I actually enjoyed the new AC/DC album. It's definitely it's definitely like the guys aren't going to slow down anytime soon, even with Malcolm being gone. I mean,
okay, I got lucky where a few years ago we ended up buying tickets. I wanted to bring my two youngest sons down. They both like rock. So we ended up going down to Manhattan, which is about 3 hours away from where I live. And we saw AC/DC perform, but that was after they kind of tossed Brian Johnson from the band. So we saw Axl Rose lead singing for AC/DC, which you talk about like a once in a lifetime. And he was great. I mean, he killed it. We had like side stage seats, so we had pretty decent seats. And he would go up front, he would sing. It was kind of funny. We could see all the monitors. It was like karaoke for him. They had all the words and all the TV monitors for him in case he forgot words or whatever. But he would get up, he would do his thing, he would rock it. But then when Angus or the rest of the band was playing an instrumental, he would just kind of duck back into the dark and let Angus and the band do their thing. So he wasn't like taken away from the band. And I really liked the way he did that. Right. And then we had tickets this summer. I was going to bring my two youngest boys to Guns N' Roses at Fenway Park. We had seen them a few years ago at the Patriots play, Gillette Stadium. And, I saw Guns N' Roses with Metallica way back in the day. And Axl Rose was like 2 hours late. He was drunk. But, I was 21 at the time. I didn't care. We were drunk, having a good time. He could have been 10 hours. I would have known, But at the concert at Gillette, a couple years ago, he was right on time. They played for 2.5 hours. Was his voice the same? No, it wasn't as good. But they just rocked it. It was a great concert. And it was kind of good to see them, play again. I never thought I'd actually see them get together and play again. So I guess, now that you're talking music, man, you and I have a lot in common. Who are your favorite bands? Who do you like?
Favorite bands, I'm real open with bands. Man, it's like crazy that me and my buddy will sit around and just like, we'll get into a rabbit hole of music and like we'll find bands that have been around since the 80s. And I'm like, man, how did I not hear that? I used to sit up at till 2 and 3 in the morning watching Headbangers Ball with Ricky Ratman. And how did I not know these bands? It's like, but I guess like maybe I didn't pay as much attention then because I was younger. I don't know, but of course, my all-time favorite is probably going to be Metallica, hands down, because they've outlasted a lot of bands as far as from that era. And of course they were the thrash metal scene and all that. So, and they, it's kind of like wild to watch how they evolved over the years, and now they're right back to where they started with music. It's like so crazy. Like that last album reminded me a lot of like Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning, or some of those earlier albums. And it's crazy for them to kind of go back to that after so many years. But I actually think that's what makes great musicians is you're able to branch out, and then it's like, okay, that didn't work. Let's go back to go back to what made us, and like a lot of bands are going to do that. Like I said, I've gotten to fall in love with a lot of bands. So Nonpoint, I don't know if you're familiar with that band, but they're like one of my favorites as far as, because I've met the guys. They're so like down to earth, man. It's like, it's so crazy. It's like talking to, your best friend on the street. They don't, they came out after the show and like talked with the fans. You didn't have to have a VIP pass or nothing, man. They just come out, it's like, hey, it's who we are. And it's so cool.
Well, we went to,
and they were so cool. And like they played a big part in my wrestling career too, because I used their song "Bullet with a Name" as my entrance music for many years. And but yeah, they're like one of my favorites as well. Like there's so many out there that I really like though, that I could probably sit here for the next hour and name off.
My kids, my youngest two especially, we've kind of turned them into rockers. Like they like 70s and 80s rock. My daughter likes more 90s rock. She's more into like Nirvana and bands like that. But we ended up, the first rock concert we took them to, we were up in New Hampshire on a vacation, and we were at a lake, and they had like one of those outdoor pavilion places, and we happened to see the Def Leppard was playing with Styx and Tesla. So we're like, oh, that's kind of a cool show. You know, we get nothing to do. Let's go see a concert. So we took the kid, and we're walking in. Our kids were little at this point, and we were with another family who had little kids. So we walk in, and Tesla had just started their set. And the lead singer gets up and he's just like, hey, welcome New Hampshire. This is the best fucking crowd I've ever seen. To see our little kids, their faces like looked at us like, something bad happened. They're like, Dad, you hear what you just said? And we're like, hey, that's rock and roll. Those things are going to happen. And the kids were like all laughing. But honestly, Tesla, I had never been a huge fan, but they rocked it. Six was okay. They were what they were, 80s band. They didn't play Mr. Roboto or, that other love song that they had that was popular. But Def Leppard, I don't think I was a huge fan of them back in the day. But, man, they just got up there for like 2 hours, and you really forget how many good songs they had as a band. I mean, they really ripped in the band, know, and we saw Bret Michaels down in Florida with the kids, and then we morphed into like, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC. And then I did take my daughter to see Nickelback a couple years ago, and they were pretty good in concert. I know, with Nickelback, either you love them or hate them, but they're one of her favorite bands. So we went to that show, and she absolutely loved it. And,
and I actually like Nickelback. I never understand like the hatred for Nickelback. I mean, I've always thought they were really good. They had really good music.
Now, who opened up for Nickelback? You probably know this band, Fozzy.
Yeah, I actually seen Fozzy at the same at an outdoor venue.
The guy who was the lead singer of that band, right? What the hell's his name?
Yeah, Chris Jericho
is the lead singer of Fozzy.
Yeah, Chris Jericho.
So they opened up that night. We saw Nickelback, and they were loud. They were a good band, but they were loud. My daughter didn't really like that band too much, but they certainly rocked it. So, man, I'll tell you, we get a lot going, man. I think some of the best concerts I've seen. The first concert I ever saw was ZZ Top back in the day with. What the hell was his name? I can't think of it now. He was eventually the lead singer for Van Halen after David Lee Roth. Sammy
Hagar?
Thank you. He was, so Sammy Hagar led off as ZZ Top. I've seen, Plant and Page. That was a great concert. I mean, they sang a couple of their originals that were right into Zeppelin for like 2 hours, and that was a great show. So
I'm gonna throw a real big one at you. Check this out. So I watched Van Halen when Sammy was lead singing, and Vince Neil was out of Motley Crue. So he was on his solo tour, and he opened up for Sammy Hagar.
Wow.
With Van Halen. So I was watching two bands that were not like part of the originals, I guess.
That's awesome.
So I never thought about that until like a couple of years ago. We were talking about it. I said, man, I never thought about it like that. But they were just like, they were not the original. Like there wasn't nothing original about that whole concert, but. But it was still really a good concert.
A lot of good concerts out there. I mean, I'm hoping that we're able to get back and start seeing some concerts again this year because there's a lot of bands I'd still like to see, So, hey, listen, we've been in about an hour and a half. I'm going to probably think about wrapping this thing up soon. But so I know, we still have yours truly up there. You've been kind of hanging patiently. Is there anything you want to say about maybe promoting your show over at the VLP network or anything before we log off?
Well, what can we say, Impact? Just get ready for some fun. That's all we can really tell you guys is we're going to be having a lot of fun with this. And again, if you guys did win merchandise from Mr. Impact and myself, we're just now getting our logos and everything set up, and we're going to give you guys the truly impacted rather than the crosstalk edition. So you guys will have the truly impacted edition of our paraphernalia once we get it out.
That's sweet.
Hey, don't say that too
loud.
Look
forward to that.
Wait a minute.
Don't say paraphernalia too loud. Hey, we're supposed to be keeping that under the wraps.
Yeah. Well,
this is the way we're selling this
memorabilia
stuff.
would probably be a better word.
Merchandise.
There you go.
All right, so Mr. Impact, man, pleasure. What else you got for me?
With some paraphernalia.
Before I close it up with Eric. So what else you got for me?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
We're going to wrap it up, but I want to just ask you, did you have anything else before we turn it over to Eric and let him give his rundown of different shows?
No, I just want to say thank you, man. Appreciate the taking the time out and giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I miss your show a lot too because you're usually on midday and I'm at work and I'm like, oh man, I missed the show again.
What I've been doing is I've been working remotely for like 8 months, so I literally do this for like my lunch break during the day. So I do this during lunch and then I go back.
Oh, I got you.
I'm doing the tough stuff. Hey, look at this boy in there, man.
It's a guy working during his lunch break.
That's what I do. I worked through the lunch break. So, all right. So, hey, it was a pleasure to have you on. I really enjoyed getting to know you better, man. You and I have a lot. common, from football to wrestling to acting to metal bands, man. I definitely feel it. So I really enjoyed having you on and learning more.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Eric, what do you?
Maybe we'll make our way up, do some bed and breakfast stuff, and I'll meet up with you and have a
Would
beer
love
or
to.
something.
That'd be great. Anytime, man. If you're going to be up in my area, let me know. I would love to meet up with you and have a few beers and chat in person. That'd be kind of cool. So, Eric, what do you got? You want to run down your shows, man? Run down the schedules?
Well, I saw Mel come in the chat. If Lyrical Laxatives is coming on tonight, their show should be going live in about an hour. So be sure to check them out. And over the weekend, be sure to check out Dennis Lee and Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole. And, he'll probably be on at 9:30 p.m. And then also be on the lookout Sunday night for Trice Talk at 11 p.m. Eastern. And all next week, Ralph William, he goes live every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern. The Chit Chat with the Old Man will be back Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Slightly Serious will be on Monday and every Monday through Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And also be on the lookout for Cracks in the Talking Corner podcast. And then all next week, we have more Get to Know Your Podcaster interviews at noon Eastern with Chuck and Billy from the Sinister Breed podcast, with the Not Your Cup of Tea that's been really popular right now. And Josh from the Two Dumbasses and Lara from Communication Station. And December 10th, Robert from Mr. Clean will be joining us. And hopefully we can get a few more podcaster interviews lined up.
Yeah, we get a few more. Like Dan mentioned he might be interested. And I've got a few people from off Podbean that have written me too. But if there's anybody here in the Podbean community that wants to come on, shoot me an email, hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to, ask some questions. It's just, kind of freshening up the show a little bit and trying something different. And, there's so many podcasters on where people get on and listen to all of us. It's just kind of nice to hear a little bit more about your life so people know who you are and things like that. So I've kind of had fun doing this going forward. So, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Hey, if there are any football fans tomorrow, Ethan and I are going to be having an NFL Sunday preview show tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern time. My son Ethan knows everything about football, so I'm going to be kind of the play-by-play guy, and he's going to be the color guy, breaking down teams. We're going to be giving out picks, revealing our fantasy football teams and all that stuff. So if you're a football fan, tune in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So, all right, hey, for Eric, myself, go ahead.
Yep. Well, and I'll definitely touch base with Cracks again this week to see if she's interested in coming on for an interview to promote her Exotics Radio and Talking Corner podcast, and us get to know her as a person. And and I might see if Dan and Carrie and Elias and other friends of ours from VOP USA are interested in doing a get to know your podcaster interview as well as hopefully we might get with Dennis Lee and Donald Wayne to see if they're interested in coming on, which I'm confident that they might be interested. So hope everybody had a blessed Thanksgiving holiday this year. And so love you, God bless, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you again soon.
All right, and I see that Homeboy wants to come on with me, so I'm going to book that. He's going to do 20 impressions. He already did Michael Jackson and Mike Tyson with me last week, so I'm dying to hear these other impressions. They were funny as hell. So for yours truly, Eric Kirk, Mr. Impact, I'm John DiVito. Thanks for joining, and I'm actually getting ready. I am going to watch the Tyson fight tonight, so we'll see what happens if Tyson, knocks out Jones in the first round or whatever. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for joining, and we'll see you all soon. Take care now.
Thanks.
You're welcome, guys.
Bye,
Thanks
guys.
again, man.
Thank you, Mr. Impact. Thank you, Truly, and thank you to Slightly and Dina Joe and Mel for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Good night, John.